So that could be another motive or another reason for the fact that we see so many of these kind of technologies coming on board in terms of uploading your consciousness to a computer and bionic limbs and things like that as well, artificial hearts and connecting your brain to a computer and all these kinds of things. That could be a possible motive for why those things are coming online now as well. So that's an interesting side note there for you, James.
Yeah, it seems like, pretty soon we're going to be governed. We already are governed by these heartless corporations that are, have no qualms about doing whatever they want and removing whatever obstacles are in their way to continue in their profits. And to me, they're probably finding it harder and harder to find people that will do their bidding. So they probably may end up moving into a more robotic situation, like all these drones, and all these. Pretty soon it's just going to be all technology that is enforcing their program.
Exactly, that's a good way of putting it. Drones in that sense, and I think that the important thing for most people who are watching these things from the outside is to keep on doing that, watching it from the outside, and not get too involved and wrapped up in all the negative news out there as well. In one sense, it's good to keep track on it because it shows that things are falling apart and crumbling when it comes to the power structure, and they're struggling so hard to piece all these pieces of the puzzle together before it totally just falls apart and has no structure at all. So it's interesting and kind of at times almost bizarre and fun to witness it in one way. But I think that people out there need to focus on their own manifestation of reality, what they want to see happen, and just as you said, this time compression, a side effect of that as well is that your own choices and goals, aspirations, and the things that you chose to focus on are going to manifest in your reality much, much quicker. And I've noticed it myself in my own life, the things that I think about or aspire to or want to create or do, those things are happening more quickly for me. They're manifesting, within a very short period of time, which, a few years ago, it seemed like a more struggle, and it took so long for things to happen and move. But now the wheels are not, they're spinning already. So as soon as you put your intention out there and your focus, magical things are almost happening, and it's incredible to be part of that. And I think that that's an important thing to keep in mind and try to exercise those things and kind of in one way slowly step away from that system that is falling apart and just make sure that you can maintain yourself either in a community or as an individual, so that you have somewhere to go, if you will, if the system totally collapses, because there's a big possibility that might actually happen. So people need to be aware of that and just do their own thing and become self-sustainable, basically, or self-sufficient, so they not going to be too dependent on this when potentially the shit hits the fan, as they say.
Yeah, definitely. I'm seeing like the Hopi prophecy talked about, and they have the Lakota prophecies out here too. And everything seems to be unfolding that they've been talking about, and that there are two worlds, and they're dividing right now. And the one world is going to take the downward spiral into total social, economic, and environmental collapse, where the other world, is going to move on the upward spiral and live in harmony with each other and the planet. And I'm seeing that right now on a big scale, and the people that are taking the upward spiral are still having to butt heads against the old status quo and the old controlling programs. But it's a tricky dance, and we're in the middle of that dance ourselves, but we are focused on the upward spiral.
It's interesting you bring that up. It's even, I remember on our radio program, we talked with Neil Kramer about the Hopi prophecy stone, and he had an interesting interpretation of that in the sense that it seems to graphically kind of display this split that is taking place that you talked about, that there's two different paths being created, and one of the paths, the lower one, is a line that is straight, continuing. There's seems to be like vegetation on that path, and a human being, implying growth and perseverance or sustainability, if you want to use that word. While the other line is a very, very jagged one, which abruptly just ends, and that could be actually a visual prophecy, if you will, of the time that we're in right now. that we're seeing this kind of split, and one is going to go towards the one that it's going to be from the point of view that things are going to be able to sustain themselves, both humanity and the earth and vegetation. Things are going to be good, basically, in that sense, while the other line is going to be very jagged, difficult, a weird path, and then eventually, bang, there you go, it ends. So that's an interesting point that you bring that up, James.
Yeah, I know the Lakota prophecies talk about that too. They talk about, a beast that's 2,000 miles wide, which represents how long it's going to survive or live or whatever, have its reign. And they said that this beast is just all controlling, consuming, dominating. It's just the epitome of just reckless greed, which we are seeing being acting out, right now on the planet. And then they said that just when you think it's all over and the earth is not going to be able to recuperate and they're going to destroy the earth, the beast actually consumes itself. And then they said after that you have the 1,000 years of peace and the reunification with the star nations and everything else. And I really feel strongly that is what our future is going to have. And I know those people that are aligned with these big corporations that work for them and whatever that have gotten their empires, through on the backs of others or at the expense of humanity, earth, they are going to lose everything because, basically their karma is going to be accelerated and their lifespan is going to be shortened, and they're going to gain nothing basically in the end.
Yeah, I believe so as well, and I know that one of the Swedish scholars, Carl-Johan Kalaman, who's been doing a lot of work on the Mayan calendar, and by the way, probably many people will know that he has a different end date for that one. Actually, puts it at the 20th of October 2011, next year already. But we can leave that to the side for now. Anyway, he has been monitoring or projecting the future based on the old prophecies of the Mayan calendar in terms of the previous cycles of manifestation and evolution that has happened. And I can see that a lot of the things that he and others who focused on the Mayan calendar, like Ian Lungold, for instance, who passed away a few years ago, that those things are happening, but there seems to be a delay in the implementation of how they happen. And what that means, I think, is that I don't think that we're going to see, something. Well, there's always a possibility, so I'm not going to shut the door on that. But I don't think we're going to see a major big one event kind of thing happening either in 2011 when Kalaman says that the calendar will end, or in 2012 when some of the other ones say will end, the galactic alignment and all that. But possibly a little bit of a delay in the implementation of how these things unfold, because I remember Kalaman talked about the economic collapse, and he expected that to happen back in 2005 or something like that. So it's like a delay with between 4 to 5 years, it seems to be. So some of the even including the time compression and the incredible acceleration might not even happen, until like 2016 or something like that, if it's true what Kalaman suggests. So people might be in for a tricky kind of ride, because things are actually happening, and in the greater scheme, these things are unfolding and implementing themselves, but we get a delay, if you know what I mean, here on Earth right now. So I think we have a few interesting years ahead of us, and it's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds, because we can, as you say, James, I think we can see right now a lot of these big companies and some banks even have been going under, the last few years, and I think that this will just this domino effect will just keep on going, I think.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it is. I'm, the writing on the wall. I mean, I'm looking at what's happening with the economic system here in the States, and it's basically in the toilet. And now they're going to print even more money, and gold's going through the roof, and that's a huge indicator that things are not going to be, looking too good around the corner. So it does. I think, a lot of that information that they're bringing out, it is, it actually probably does collapse, and then they do something to just put a Band-Aid on it and keep it going a little bit longer. And I think they put about 10 Band-Aids on this problem, our own economic problem, and I think that they're about ready to lose their patience.
Yeah. I think so. I think you're right, James. And I also think that at the same time, there again, I think people should have a positive outlook on this as well. That this means change. It means something good. It means a chance for humanity to take back the true value system of products again, if you will, or the things that we create, the things that we make. I mean, we could be looking at a situation without money or with money, afterwards or whatever. But again, it doesn't really matter. These things are just means of exchange. I think that humanity will always have a currency of one form or another. It's just an easier way to deal with things. But we need to get back to a true value system where things just don't inflate and grow over time in weird ways, and interest rates and all these weird things, the fractional reserve banking and all that stuff that exists out there. And I think that if anything, this means there's a chance to kind of set a just system in place instead, and actually a workable system, one that won't collapse within just a few hundred years or whatever it's taken for this system not to totally crumble under. So I don't think there's a reason to be super worried about this either. Of course, it's happening right now, and we're in the middle of it, and many people are suffering because of it. But at the same time, I think naturally and organically, hopefully, I think that a system can arise, on the side of this. As the old system are falling apart, something new is going to come and take its place. And I think it's up towards to inventive people and people who have their heart in the right place to try to make this happen themselves, and again just naturally create a currency system even in their local area or something like that, a means of transaction or trade or something like that. So because we're always going to need things from each other in terms of services or help or one might grow the plants while the other one is taking care of repairing the house, if you know what I mean, if we're down on the basic level here. So those things will always be there, and the need for those, the necessity will always be there for those things. So consequently, money or a form of currency will always be there. So no reason to worry. It's a great opportunity for change and doing something positive. That's what I see as the hopeful outcome of this awful situation.
Yeah, I see it. A lot of the farms will still be there. They'll still have their produce, and they'll still need an avenue for that. And so there will be some system in place, because they're not just going to let everything sit and rot. Even if it just means giving it away. So I think it's all about consciousness and the higher dimensional beings and the higher off-world visitors and things. Most of them don't have a monetary system. They operate as one unit, like everything is one, and they serve the one, so there's no lack there. There's no material lack. They've just transcended that and disease and war and everything else, and that's where we need to get to. We need to get away from this division program, and once we do, there'll be an abundance for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right. I think people again need to focus on manifestation and make things happen, and trust in the fact that the force, if you want to call it that, of the universe or God or the creation in that sense is. It's not conspiring against you. It wants to take care of what it has created, and things will happen for you. And again, if your heart is in the right place, I don't think you have anything to worry about in that sense. And focus on the good things and try to make things happen. And don't be afraid to do the hard work, of course, because I think that will yield results, and you will be in a position where you basically will be able to survive and you have nothing to worry about. That's what I believe anyway.
Yeah, I agree. We're out of time right now, so if people want to get a hold of you, they can go to redicecreations.com. Is there any other ways that you'd want people to contact you? Or?
Well, they can go on the main site there, redicecreations.com, as you mentioned, James, and then they can have a Facebook available there. They can also check out my name website, henrickpalmgren.com, if they want to. But all the links are from Red Ice Creations, so that's the best way, absolutely.
Great. Hey, well, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show, and we'll have to do it again real soon. If you have any major updates or insights, feel free to give us a ring.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, James. It's been a real treat and a real joy to be on the other side of the mic, so thank you for the invitation.
All right. Okay, we're out of time. This is James Gillen with World Puja. Have a great day.